All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be volume 2 in the series, Do Liberal Black Women Love Thugs? And the reason why this series is so relevant is because it's very important that brothers understand that the energy that people are drawn to is often based on the energy that they emit. What do I mean by that? And I've covered this concept in other videos. Remember when you were in school and your math teacher would try to help you understand integers, and they would tell you that two positives make a positive. A positive and a negative will oftentimes result in a neutral, depending on which polarity is more powerful. And then two negatives make a positive. And that's the aspect that's relevant to what we're talking about in this subject right here. The thug and the liberal black woman are both negative. That's why they're drawn to one another. That's why they feel like they have a quote unquote positive relationship, because they're both equally chaotic. And it's very important for brothers who are upstanding to understand this concept so that they do not get themselves involved either with the liberal black woman or the so-called thug. Now, if either one of those two demographics want assistance or want help, if it behooves you to help them, go ahead and do so. But always understand something. Always understand something. When people are falling, they're going to grab for anything. And if they need to, they're going to pull you down with them. Okay? When you decide that you're going to intervene in destructive relationships with people who enjoy destruction, do not marvel when you fall prey to that same energy when you also are destroyed. And I'm going to expound on that within this video. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Plaintiff Aja Harris says the defendant is her little sister, and she claims one night during an argument, the defendant tried to attack her, and later that night, the defendant vandalized her car, so she's suing. Defendant Kiara Harris says she was fighting with her boyfriend, and Aja got involved.
Brothers, that's something that people oftentimes try to get you to do, especially if they know that you're someone who is responsible. They'll get themselves involved in a deleterious situation, whether it's with someone who they know is no good for them and who's going to have a very negative impact on their life. But for whatever reason, they just cannot shirk. They cannot avoid that type of scenario where they're with someone who's destructive. They're always going to turn to you. They say, oh, well, you know, James is always very responsible. He'll always be there to help me. Sometimes you cannot always act as the parachute for people who constantly get themselves into bad situations. Sometimes you have to let them fall all the way to the ground and damn near die so that they can learn from it. Because people are either going to learn from something or not learn from it. But you have to force them to make that decision, because if not, they're always going to turn to you, and eventually they're going to blame you for the problems in their life. Always remember that dysfunctional people will always look for someone or something to blame. Okay? And if you keep trying to act like a savior, they're going to blame you.
Kiara claims she and Aja then started arguing, and even though she was 7 months pregnant, Aja maced her. She's countersuing for emotional distress.
Start with you.
Kiara is my little sister, and I do love her, but it's just certain things that I'm not going to keep allowing. For instance, every time she has a situation with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, she always calling me to basically like help her out, bail her out.
Now, brothers, do you see how quickly and easily she made that statement? She said whenever the defendant, Kiara, has a situation with a quote-unquote boyfriend or girlfriend. Now, when she says girlfriend, is she talking about the average female friend, or is she saying that her sister is quote-unquote bisexual? I just wanted to pause it there so that I could stress to the so-called black man how many of these modern liberal black females believe in sexuality fluidity. They have no problem jumping from male to female, but yet they love to hone in on how the so-called black man is on the DL, or how so many of these so-called black men are homosexual. Well, many of these black females are lesbians. And is homosexuality amongst the black man a major problem? Absolutely, because they're spreading sexually transmitted diseases. They're causing distrust in the so-called black community. They're causing sexual degeneracy and sexual depravity to spread in the so-called black community. That's a whole other video. I already have a series that I started on that when it comes to or pertaining to homosexuality in the so-called black community. And the stats are irrefutable. The stats are irrefutable when it comes to people who decide to indulge in that life choice. Point being is this: the plaintiff said that just so matter-of-factly.
And I'm always bailing her out, but she always turns on me for her boyfriend or her girlfriend.
That's normally how it goes when you're dealing with dysfunctional people. They will always try to turn to you to help them get back on a decent track, but they're going to blame you eventually. That's why you have to let them fall sometimes.
So it's just like, what's the point of me even helping you out?
The point of you helping her out is because you're probably dysfunctional yourself. And misery loves company. So you love jumping in because you love the drama. But that drama might overwhelm you or overwash you eventually.
And, you know, she told
me an example.
She told me that she would stab me for her girlfriend if she had to.
Well, give me an example of what happened. Tell me.
That's how you know she has to be talking about or using that term, quote unquote, girlfriend in the sense of romance, and not the colloquialism that females use it of this is my girlfriend, meaning their home girl or their friend.
You're saying she will always do this. Give me an example.
Well, one time her boyfriend her boyfriend was fighting. She called me over, and I came over, and he got in my car. Her boyfriend, he had got in my car, and he drove off. And, you know, she was like, oh, I'm done with him, Aja, because he shouldn't have did that to you. And then, like, 2 days later, she was back with him. You know, it hurts my feelings to be here right now because I don't...
But what does it do to you when she goes back with her boyfriend?
It don't... Well,
they have her falling out.
What it does is it shows her that all the energy that she expended trying to assist her was in vain. That's what it shows her, Judge Mathis.
Oh.
It doesn't do nothing but...
Yeah, you sound like it bothers you.
It does bother me.
Why?
And it should bother her.
Because that's my sister, and you know what?
She can't get into arguments with her boyfriend?
No.
She can get into arguments with her man, but why is she trying to involve the plaintiff? See, the issue with the plaintiff, and the reason why I wanted to make a video off of this segment is because many of you brothers, you might have a family member, or you might even have a friend or someone like that who's dysfunctional. And you have a bond with that person and you want to assist them, but you have to be very, very careful how you assist these people. One of my favorite films as a kid was a movie called Jason's Lyric. Jada Pinkett was in it. And a couple other people were in it. Bokeem Woodbine was in it as well. And in the film Jason's Lyric, it basically depicted a relatively straight arrow dude whose brother, played by Bokeem Woodbine, was basically a degenerate. He had mental issues as well. And by the end of the film, the lead character of Jason understood that he had to let his brother go. Let his brother go off into his own meanderings because he was destructive, self-destructive, and nothing was going to stop it. They were both impacted by a traumatic event that happened when they were children, when their father, played by Forrest Whitaker, I believe, came back from the war and he was never the same person. And the father ended up being killed. Well, I'm not going to give away the whole plot. But the father was killed and it impacted both sons. The difference is that the older son was able to compartmentalize it and become a relatively functional individual. The younger son, Bokeem Woodbine, became totally dysfunctional and embraced a life of crime. And the older brother realized that he had to let the younger brother go. He could not always save him. You cannot always save somebody just because you love them. They have to make that decision on their own. Another film, Jungle Fever. This was back when Spike Lee made very, very good movies to borderline great movies. People always think that the main plot line of Jungle Fever was the interracial relationship. To me, the main plot line, and they just used the interracial dynamic as a cover or as a facade, was how the crack epidemic was truly just tearing up the so-called black community. And the lead character, played by Wesley Snipes, he had a brother who was played by Samuel L. Jackson. And in the penultimate scene of the film, Samuel L. Jackson was shot by the character played by Ossie Davis, who was the father of both the character of Wesley Snipes and Samuel L. Jackson. And the father told his son, and I'm paraphrasing, the father, played by Ossie Davis, he told the son, played by Samuel L. Jackson, I love you, but you have to go. And he ended up shooting him because the son was so possessed by demons, particularly through that crack, that he realized that his son was never going to change, and eventually the son was going to try to harm him and his wife. And it was a very unfortunate decision that the father had to make. But he was put in a position where he knew that he could no longer help his son, and his son was threatening the lives of both himself and his wife. And of course, the father was depicted as a ultra-religious individual. And that's why I state sometimes in these videos that some of these decisions are going to be made for the more defective aspects of our people and many of the cataclysmic or catastrophic events that are going to befall this society as it goes down. Because our people are either going to be reformed or they're going to be removed. And it's very unfortunate. But in the meantime, you have to be able to differentiate between who you can help and who you can't. And if people keep going back to the same trough to eat from, eventually you have to leave them alone.
No, but she shouldn't call me trying to have me come there and try to do whatever she want me to do.
What do you think?
She does that because she knows that you're going to do it. Stop doing it, and I bet you she'll stop calling you.
You think she wants you to do when she
try to fight him or whatever, or try to stop him from doing what he's doing, but don't call me if you know you're going to be back with him. That's what I'm trying to say.
She's not in control of her own faculties. The defendant is bugged out of her mind. She's a liberal black woman who's addicted to the so-called thug dynamic, and the plaintiff is as well. Point being is this for you brothers. Don't get involved with a lot of this nonsense. Like a lot of these guys, through like the commercial, the Gillette commercial. I had so many brothers hit me up about that, and I'll probably do a video about that as well. That was simp programming for the black man. That's what that commercial really was about. That was simp programming for the so-called black man. And I'm not saying that if you see a man just beating the hell out of a woman in the middle of the street, don't do anything. But always think before you respond. Okay? And always be eager to get the real authorities involved before you jump in, because you never, ever know what's going on in many of these interactions between males and females in this society. Many people out here are mentally ill, both male and female. And you jump into the midst of that and you could end up being killed. I did a video a while ago called What is Loyalty? Or something along those lines pertaining to loyalty. And it was featuring a so-called Hispanic woman by the name of Velasquez. And she ended up being killed because she jumped into the middle of a quote-unquote domestic dispute between one of her close friends, quote-unquote, and her friend's man, who also was fresh out of prison.
I don't believe that that's the best strategy to take with a sister. If she doesn't need you to do anything other than to make her feel good, that you should do it.
Oh, I love my sister.
Well, then
Absolutely.
Don't act like you are so frustrated you're going to leave her hanging.
Well,
right, but you know what Judge Mathis is doing here is, to be quite honest with you, he's having a nigga nonsense flashback. What do I mean by that? Nigga nonsense tries to normalize dysfunctionality. Our people love to try to normalize dysfunctionality. Oh, well, if your sister's having 100 arguments with a low-level dude, always be there to come over to her place whenever she calls you and jump in the middle of it. And if that guy pulls a gun on you 100 times, oh well. Like, no. We cannot continue to follow that paradigm, Judge Mathis. We have to change the paradigm. We have to change the standards of behavior. We have to change the standards of how we choose to be with who we're with. And that's how we alter these cycles that are destroying our people. So the plaintiff needs better advice than that.
well, no, I didn't say. I'm frustrated at the fact that she always calling me to always like try to fight him or get him off of her, but
Because she know you're a sucker.
but you know what I mean?
And
Trying
that's the whole point. You go over there and he start acting the fool or talking silly or talking crazy, you're supposed to say, come on, girl, it's time to go. Why don't
Right, but you do that once, maybe twice. If you got to do that 50 times, that means that you're being played for the fool.
I leave him? He just mad. He gonna calm down. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So,
Or maybe Judge Mathis talking like that because he's been that dude flipping out in the house, breaking lamps and shit, and his wife's sister had to come get her. Who the hell knows?
you give me some background.
Me and my sister, yes, we have had a rocky past or whatever. Only because I just feel like she's older, so she feel like she's entitled to her opinions and how she feel. But
And she probably also knows that you make terrible decisions on the daily. Once again, sometimes we have family members who we know do not make correct decisions, and we worry about them. You try to hover over them. Always understand that dysfunctional people, they have to learn how to become functional. Close friends, family members, they have to learn how to fly on their own. Because if not, all they're going to do when you try to carry them is weigh you down and make your wings break.
my sister She never really liked none of my relationships or whoever it was that I was in.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe just because like I'm her little sister, so you can't really, you don't.
You haven't been dating a good guy?
No, sir.
Oh, well, that's why. Why won't you date a good guy? Boring.
They really.
Now, brothers, did you hear that? When the judge asked the defendant, why won't she date a quote-unquote good guy, the bailiff jumped in and said that they're too boring. And everybody started laughing. Why is that? Because once again, the liberal black female, and most liberal females, period, but the liberal black female especially, loves the so-called thug because the thug brings action into their life. They're action junkies. A lot of males are action junkies. They tend to be the people who are led by their emotions as opposed to being able to analyze correctly what's going on around them. They make mistake after mistake, and they believe that because they can speak impassioned, that everyone is supposed to conform to what they're talking about. They have a list of grievances about society and life that they feel like they can change based off of their feelings, and it doesn't happen. And they're able to enrapture what the scriptures call silly women, laden with diverse lusts, and lead them about, because that's the nature of the woman. The woman is always going to follow that aspect of passion. Okay? So you always have to understand that when we talk about why does the modern day black woman, or why do liberal women or young women, why do they so-called love thugs? It's not so much the criminal aspect, it's that chaotic aspect. The woman loves it when she cannot predict what's going to happen next until it starts to go too far and it starts to impact her life. Remember, the woman, for the most part, is a two-dimensional thinker. She does not truly foresee what's coming around the corner. She's only concerned with what's directly in front of her.
It's really not like my cup.
Yeah, he said boring. You said, yeah, that's why. What's that, man?
I'm sorry. They just really not like my cup of tea. But
At least she's honest. I give her credit for being honest about that. She prefers degenerate type dudes. But understand something. Females who prefer degenerate type dudes are degenerate type females, and they have lower level children. They have children who are not going to impact our community in a positive way because they're not going to be brought up in a constructive environment. They're going to be brought up in an environment that is going to hurt them, is going to impact them negatively in how they learn. Our people are not competing on a mental level because oftentimes, unfortunately, we're not being allowed by ourselves to flourish or to bloom how we're supposed to, because we have too many lower level aspects of our community trying to dominate what the culture should be. That hood culture has to go, man. The hood mentality has to go because it's stopping us from being able to compete mentally and culturally. We can't rule because we have too many low level niggas holding us back, to make a long story short.
I just feel like, my sister just always had a say on what she don't like and what she do.
Let's analyze what you just said.
Yes, please, let's do that.
Many ladies want...
You mean females. That's the first mistake. And let me say this, brothers. They try to prep young men, or young males per se, to call all females ladies. The term lady is a term of dignity. In order for you to be referred to in a dignified term, you have to conduct yourself in a dignified manner. Once she has acknowledged that she prefers so-called thugs or dudes who are quote-unquote bad boys, she's telling you that she's not a lady. And there's nothing wrong with that for her because at least she's being honest. When somebody's honest, now you know how to deal with them. It's people who try to create these facades and come at you with masks on. Those are people who it takes a long time to decipher and say, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with this person. But at least she's honest and forthright enough to acknowledge and admit what she's actually about. So I give her credit for that. But no, Judge Mathis, she is not a lady. And what you'll realize also in this society, they love to tell men or try to define what a man is, but they throw all these lavish terms on females. Because once again, this society is about venerating the feminine principle. But once again, no, she's not a lady.
Want a roughneck. Well, what does a roughneck do? He gets rough with you.
Gets rough with your neck.
He takes your money. He beats you. He chokes you. What roughnecks do, he engages in criminal activity in some instances, because that's kind of the type of guy you're describing. I like a thug, I like a thug. That's a criminal. You like a criminal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hey, she said, yes, sir. Let me rewind this back a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listen to what you just said. Many ladies want a roughneck. Well, what does a roughneck do? He gets rough with you.
Bars.
He takes your money. He beats you. He chokes you. What roughnecks do, he engages in criminal activity in some instances, because that's kind of the type of guy you're describing.
And brothers, it's a very symbiotic relationship between the so-called thug or slash roughneck and the low-level liberal woman, because the liberal female is attracted to the quote-unquote roughneck. And many times the so-called roughneck has embraced that lifestyle or that life choice to attract the woman, because he's never been taught the difference between a wife-level woman and a concubine. The liberal woman is a concubine. That's it. So once again, you have two negative aspects feeding off one another to make a pseudo-positive, because it's not a real positive, it's a pseudo-positive. They come together and they just feel that overwhelming rush of being in the company of that embodiment of what they think they want. The liberal black woman sees a thug and she just feels that rush. The so-called thug sees the liberal black woman, or what they call it, a quote-unquote ghetto hood rat, or even a so-called businesswoman who's attracted to a thug. Same thing. Once they see that the woman is attracted to that dynamic, they get a mutual rush. But it's not anything that's built to last, because it's not based in culture, it's not based in ramifications, it's not based in accountability. So once again, it's up to the three-dimensional thinking so-called black man to make sure, we have to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. We have to make sure that we utilize restraint, because we just dive head first into these quote-unquote relationships with these females and then talk about, she started acting different after 2 months. No, she just realized that you wasn't for her. You paying your bills on time. You're not smoking blunts all damn day, playing video games. You're not heading out into the street at 11 p.m. to go move whatever it is that you're moving. You're going to work on time. You're coming home on time. You're not self-destructive. You're not destructive, and it becomes too monotonous for her. That's okay. Let her go. It's not a big deal.
I like a thug. I like a thug. That's a criminal. You like a criminal.
Yes, sir.
And you won't be a victim of that crime, perhaps.
And if and when she is, nobody should feel sorry for her at all. Once again, brothers, do not jump into these situations, these so-called domestic situations involving the liberal woman and the thug. Okay? That's a blow up that is certainly going to occur. Nothing can be done to stop it. We can consider it a self-cleaning oven.
At some point, whether it's him, whether it's the feds or the police kicking in the door while you're with him,
Waving the 4-4.
pulling you over while you're with him, and he got the gun or dope in the car.
Right, but they love that, though. They ride or die chicks.
But you want you a thug and a bad boy. Okay, now you got a case. You're going to see a lot of bad girls in the
That's okay. She go both ways.
penitentiary. So just be mindful of that, and all
Mindful. You have to have a mind to be mindful.
the other young ladies, you all want thugs, so what you going to get?
Hey, did you hear what Mathis stated? He said all the other young ladies. So Mathis knows that this is a cultural thing. This is not a singular issue. The vast majority of so-called black women are liberal. The vast majority of liberal black women, that's what they want, especially in their youth. Okay? That's why I tell you, brother, don't even consider having a child in this society, in a society like this, until you're around 35, 40 years old, because that's how long it's going to take you to come into the fullness of your manhood and understand what's going on around you. And in order for you to guide your son and your daughter properly in your household, you have to have a little bit of life experience, man.
You think a thug is going to be nice, open the door for you, call you sweetie, all the time?
I guarantee you, brothers out here who had children at 25 years old and then also had a child at 40 years old, they'll tell you they're a much better father at 40 years old than they were at 25 years old.
He got to live up to his reputation. He gonna call you a few names, and they aren't gonna be Mother Mary. All right, let's hear about the tires and emotional distress.
On April 30th, 2018, I was proceeding to walk into my house, and my sister, my mom, and her boyfriend was outside, and they were talking. She was telling my mom how he was just being real nasty and disrespectful to her. So I'm like, Kiara, don't worry about it. Brush that off. And, you know, he just got real hostile with me, you know, coming at me. So I just said, you know, my boyfriend in the house. Do you want me to bring my boyfriend outside?
In other words, let me see if I can necessitate a conflict between two black men over a no good dude who's with a no good female. You know how many so-called black men get killed every day trying to intervene in domestic disputes, who have to jump in because his woman jumped into a situation involving her homegirl or her sister, and now she wants you to jump in. And if you don't jump in and become a part of the no good Negro fracas, now you're going to become marginalized, or she's not going to give you no ass or whatever. Brothers, let me say this. The vast majority of so-called black men who are in prison or dead is over a woman in some way, shape, or form. Always understand that. I promise you that if you know how to compartmentalize the female and keep her in her proper perspective and in her proper place, that's going to go a very long way in you avoiding a lot of bullshit. Because women love to do two things especially, and that's start shit and cry about the shit that they started after the fact when people get killed. Okay? Keep that in mind.
Like, you know what I mean? And my boyfriend came outside, and my boyfriend was, he asked him, he was like, yo, so what you want to do? You want to fight? And then when he...
Want to fight? Yeah, they both going to fight, and, you know, they're going to put up their dukes. And then 15 minutes later, one of them going to go for the ratchet and kill the other one. And then you know what you're going to do? You're going to go to your side dude who you've been fucking the whole time and then go be with him.
Then when he said that, my sister, she was like, oh, do I ever do that to you? Do I ever get anybody to jump on your boyfriend? She had a point, but, you know, it was the fact of the matter is he was getting nasty with me, and I'm talking to my sister.
And you don't want to get in a confrontation with a man.
Right. And, you know, me and her arguing. My boyfriend's outside now. So he's, like, trying to, like, hold her back because me and her's, like, really arguing hard.
Brothers, let me say this very, very quickly. If you're with a female and she loves you, she's not going to try to pull you into an altercation that you know nothing about and that you have nothing to do with. What a real woman tries to do is diffuse the situation, not exacerbate it, not inflame it. Okay? If you're with a female and she's always trying to pull you into some shit, that's a female that you do not want to fuck with anymore, man. Because I promise you, she's going to get you hurt or killed, and you're going to be replaced very quickly. She's going to take her ass out to the club that weekend. That's if she don't already have 2 or 3 side dudes in her phone already, or Facebook fuck buddies already. And she's going to go replace you with the quickness. She's going to go to your funeral and shed some crocodile tears and then take her black ass somewhere and go deal with the next nigga. Simple as that. So keep that in mind. A real woman is going to try to diffuse situations. She's not going to try to inflame them.
So, you know, he's trying to hold her, and she's trying to, like, she's 7 months pregnant. So she's trying to, like, bypass him so she could come, like, trying to fight me. I sprayed mace in her area. I didn't directly spray it on her. I sprayed it in her area, and the police was called, and ambulance came and checked her out. She was fine. So they asked us, what did we want to do? I said that, well, we both agreed that we were going to let it go, let it die down. Now, I goes to the store with my mom. 30 minutes later, we come back. My tires is stabbed. 3 of them is stabbed. Now, as soon as I walk in the house, my boyfriend, he tells me, I literally watched her stab the tires out.
And good for him that he watched and did not try to intervene or get involved. And that's a message. Brothers, when you're dealing with these chicks and they key in your car and stabbing your tires, take that shit very seriously. Because that's meant to represent what they want to do to you. Okay? Once the female starts going to that next step, again, 80% of so-called black males locked up or dead is over a female in some way, shape, or form. Take that woman off of that pedestal, man. And watch so many of your problems and your agitations and your consternations go away. Stop going back and forth with them on this gender war shit. The woman is not on your level to have a gender war with them. The only reason why the female does that, especially on the internet, is because she knows that she can. Most modern day liberal black females have no respect for manhood because they're raised in environments where they're taught to hate men. The television teaches females to hate men. The radio teaches females to hate men. Now the movies over the last 10 years or so are teaching females to hate men, and they're trying to get men to hate themselves. Okay? That's why they try to demonize men with facial hair. Why do they do that for? Because women can't grow facial hair. That's why. It's all about jealousy and envy. And it's not to digress too much, but that's why I always laugh at these dudes who claim that at some point in the Earth's history, women were ruling the earth and all this nonsense. Everything that the woman does is to mimic the man, because the man is the head. Everything that they do is in envy of the man. Women do very few things as a group. They do very few things without the impetus of envy or boredom. Very rarely.
Well, he went out then. I guess he didn't want to be stabbed.
Well, he's
And good for him. He did something very smart. Stay your ass in the house, look at what happens, and call the cops.
Well, at least yell. I'm calling the police. I'll see you there.
I got a statement. I have a witness
Okay,
statement.
what'd he say? Let's see it.
The judge said, I see you there. I mean, shit, be careful. She might go call a clique of niggas and say, look, he's snitching to the cops. Brothers, once again, even though I'm joking around, understand something. The woman that you're with has to be upstanding, man. Be mindful of who she's associating herself with, so that she don't drag you into some dumb shit.
See it.
He did say he's on probation and he didn't want to go outside, and because she is a liar and she will.
So in other words, the plaintiff's man is fresh out also, or on probation, I should say. Let me correct myself. He's on probation, so clearly he's been given terms to try to avoid incarceration. But once again, the average modern liberal black female, especially between the ages of about 15 to 35 or 40, that's what they're going to lean towards.
She will try to lie and say he did something to her.
And ma'am, what do you say to this?
Okay, sir, as half of her story is wrong. Me and my boyfriend, yes, we was arguing. She stopped when I was downstairs talking to my mom. She jumped in and told my boyfriend that my brother was going to be home soon, so I didn't have to worry about the situation. So that's when my boyfriend and her got into it, because my boyfriend, like, you telling me that somebody gonna come do something to me, then he like, I'ma fight him, you know? So then that's when she was like, what?
And you would have been ready to have your so-called boyfriend fight your brother. Once again, sometimes you have to let people go off into their own life, because they can become so caught up in their quote-unquote relationship that they're ready to cut ties with their family or choose their mate over their family in situations where somebody could get hurt or killed. It's natural when you go off to form your own family that you're going to have a very strong bond with your significant other. That's natural. But as a man, especially, you have to have the judgment skills to be able to discern who's right and who's wrong when there are disputes between your sister and your mother, or your wife or your girl, or whoever. You just can't say, I'm just going to jump on my woman's side and let her stab you up. Like, come on, man. But this is a female. I'm just saying this from a man's perspective for you brothers out there, because you're going to run into situations where you might have a female and she might not get along with your sister or with your mother. For the most part, women don't like each other any damn way. We all know that shit. So we have to know how to navigate those waters.
What? She was like, who you talking to? That's when she proceeded to go into the house to get her boyfriend. He came outside. He's 7 foot, really big. He like, oh, what's up? My boyfriend's walking down the street. I was down the street with him, but I was coming back towards, because I'm like, Rome, go in the house. Like, you're not about to fight him. Yeah, him and Aja had like something going on. Like, they was arguing, but that was it. So Rome, like, he real forceful, like, nah, I want to fight type stuff. So I'm like, okay. he took Aja and brought her to the house. She was on her porch, but I was in the driveway of my house. She wanted to fight me. At the time, yes, I was 7 months pregnant, and I was standing there, and I'm like, Aja, how is you mad because I'm taking my boyfriend's side? You just went to go get Rome, and that didn't have nothing to do with Rome. So she like, I don't care. He not gonna talk to me no type of way. I'm tired of him. She already didn't like him because yes, he did jump inside her car when she came to come help me for an incident. He did.
And when she comes to protect you, he tries to jump her.
Yeah.
That's the other part. Go ahead, and I can understand that. Put yourself in danger. Right.
Okay.
Oh, now you understand. Before you was talking about how come she did not just want to support her sister over and over and over again with the same dumb shit.
Okay, so
she's
yeah.
healthy 2 days later, and you cut up.
Ding! You finally starting to get it, brother? Brothers out there, yeah, I hope that y'all understand the importance of these situations. We should be there to help our family members, but you can only help people who want to be helped. That's it. We can only help people who want to be helped. We can't even help ourselves if we don't really understand how we need to change certain things. So sometimes you have to know how to lead people to their own devices before they drag you down with them.
Go ahead.
So yeah, so she was upset that he did not apologize for stealing her car. So she started talking and she talking about what I want to do, this and that. So I stepped forward. I stepped a step forward into the driveway and
yeah, to set it off. You step forward to catch wreck.
And she backed out her mace and she maced me.
Why'd you step forward?
I was just talking. I was talking and I stepped forward.
Bullshit. You stepped forward because you were trying to snuff the broad. That's what was going on. You trying to hit it with a 1-2.
I was talking to her, okay. And I just, I just
all weren't
forward.
Talking about anything positive. You all were talking about violence.
Yes, we was
right.
We
you
was
were talking
arguing.
about violence, and then you stepped toward her. She had every right to spray you.
Absolutely, because you were looking at her. You was like, I have about a 60-inch reach, and I'm about 63 inches away. I need another step.
You went to attack her.
No,
you
sir.
went to assault her. I know. You just stepped up so she can hear you better.
No, I didn't. I didn't want to fight her.
What happened to the tires? Let's get to that.
Okay, well, after the argument and everything went on, when I went to press charges on her when we did call the police, and she told the police that I chased her. Mm-hmm. That's why she maced me. So later on that day, I was with my best friend, and my best friend was there with the whole incident when my sister maced me and everything. So now we upstairs in the house. So my friend asked me, like, what you about to do, because she just maced you. I'm like, well, this is my sister. We do argue. So I'm like, forget it. Like, we could just let the situation go by. Because I really wanted her to go to jail.
And so what happened?
My best friend went and stabbed her tires.
Okay, and you have the police.
So you're going to throw the best friend under the bus, the alleged best friend that stabbed her tires?
Police report?
Yes.
And you told the police you tried to stop her?
No,
Why?
The police.
Why didn't you tell the police what you told me?
Your Honor,
Your claim is granted. Yours is dismissed. You have absolutely no credibility. Have a good day.
She never had any credibility. That's why you should never have called her a lady. Brothers, we have to start to become way more particular with the terms that we use for people, especially if we're speaking in a personal way. Of course, if you're in a business environment, then you have to utilize discernment and discretion, and sometimes you have to use flattering titles for people, even if they're not applicable. But in real life, we have to stop calling random females ladies once they've shown that they're not. That's how we're able to teach our sons and a lot of impressionable young males what they should be looking for and what the red flags are. Okay?
At this point, honestly, I don't care what happens, but that's my sister, so I mean, we'll get back on, I guess.
You guess? I have news for you. You better watch your back.
I don't want to talk.
I know you don't want to talk. You want to fight. Brothers, that's going to wrap this video up. That's basically it on that. But there is a science to understanding the infatuation between the so-called liberal woman and the quote-unquote thug. It's part of the natural dysfunctionality of the so-called black community. It's something that we're going to have to deal with and handle. The so-called hood mentality. I touched on it in the video with Adrian Broner. That's why I made sure that I highlighted that he said he was fighting for the hood. He was not fighting for so-called black people. He's fighting for the hood. Okay, because he represents that lower aspect of our people. He represents that aspect that we are going to have to pay issuance to. But anyway, peace.